Good morning. Good morning, committee. I'd like to call this meeting to order. It is currently 9 a.m. and I would like to confirm that we do have quorum. Also that we have our CAO clerk and other members of our senior management team and staff here and present today. I'd like to continue to advise the public that if you do have comment, we invite that at the following email address, tmlpubliccomment@muskokalakes.ca. At this point, there is none received. Would like to remind everyone that today's meeting is being live streamed and recorded on the Township of Muskoka Lakes website and YouTube channel. By participating in the open public meeting today, you are consenting to your image, voice, and comments being recorded and posted online. There is no supplementary agenda, and at this point, I would like to ask committee if there's any disclosures of pecuniary interest. Seeing none. Just a couple of administrative things that our motions have been pre-populated with random movers and seconders to expedite the meeting, and that members, from a voting perspective, members shall physically raise their hand until the chair has confirmed the vote. If the vote is unclear, a verbal vote will be recorded by the clerk, but this is not considered a recorded vote. All right, so we are moving right along now to our delegations, which is item 5A, and I believe that they are now joining us via Zoom. Is that correct? Thank you. Good morning and welcome. Ms. Britton, how are you?
I am fine, thank you. How's everyone there?
Fantastic, thank you. We will get your presentation up on screen, and the two of you have 5 minutes. As discussed, after that, committee will have an opportunity to ask you some questions from your presentation. And then later on in today's agenda, that is actually when we will be discussing the actual request. So with that, can you see the presentation?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll hand it over to you now.
Okay, I think Nicole is going to start us off.
Can you hear me?
Well, yes, we can hear you, but there's tremendous echo. We're trying to figure that out.
I'm going to try to log back in.
I'm being coached that you might need to turn off your audios. Is that correct? Oh, somebody must have on an extra audio.
I'm old.
Miranda, would you like to speak just to see if there's an issue on your
Sure.
end?
Yep. Are you hearing an echo here?
No. Okay.
No,
so
okay.
that's
So I think it was
helpful
with
to know.
Nicole's. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We'll just wait for her to, I guess, log back in.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Yay!
Okay. All right. We will now restart the clock and turn the floor over to the two of you.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to present today. My name is Nicole Kitchen. I am the Executive Director for Muskoka Arts and Crafts, and I'm joined today by Miranda Britton, our Programming and Membership Director. We are here this morning to introduce a proposal for a seasonal art gallery pilot project at Windermere Village Hall. Our vision is to activate this beautiful historic building as a seasonal gallery space with summer showcasing artwork by Muskoka artists and makers, while helping bring additional visitors and cultural programming to the village of Windermere. We believe this initiative will support local artists, encourage tourism, and further strengthen the township of Muskoka Lakes as a vibrant cultural destination. If we could just move to the next slide. Perfect, thank you. For those who may not be familiar with us, Muskoka Arts and Crafts was founded in 1963 and is one of the oldest region's longest running not-for-profit organizations. Our membership includes more than 400 artists and makers working across disciplines including painting, sculpture, ceramics, woodworking, textiles, jewelry, and photography. Many people know us through the annual summer show that happens at Annie Williams Park in Bracebridge, which attracts approximately 10,000 visitors a year and showcases the work of artists across Muskoka and beyond. This year, we're excited to share that we will be celebrating 64 years. Beyond our own facilities, we regularly organize community art exhibitions in locations throughout the region, including Hospice Muskoka, SPCA, Muskoka High Schools, the town of Bracebridge, town offices, and the Summit Center in Huntsville. Education is also an important part of our mission. Each year we host our Rising Star Student Exhibition, and we continue to expand our art programming for youth to the broader community. Next slide, please. Behind all of this work is a dedicated team of staff, board members, and volunteers. As the executive director, I provide overall leadership and strategic direction, while Miranda oversees artistic programming, member engagement, and community outreach. We are also supported by our membership coordinator, Bryn Kerbison, who works closely with our growing community of artists and makers. In addition to staff, MAC is guided by a 10-person board of directors who bring experience from a wide range of professional backgrounds. And importantly, our organization relies on the generosity of many dedicated volunteers who support our galleries, exhibitions, workshops, and events throughout the year. Next slide, please, and I'll hand it over to Miranda.
Thank you. So now to discuss our proposal. So what we're proposing is to operate a seasonal art gallery this summer at the Windermere Village Hall from May 1st through October 16th, 2026. The gallery would feature a curated selection of high-quality handcrafted work created by members of Muskoka Arts and Crafts, representing a wide range of disciplines, and this work would be available for purchase by the public. The space would be set up using professional but temporary display systems. These installations would not require any permanent alterations to the building. We propose operating hours that align with seasonal tourism patterns in the area. This would include weekends during shoulder seasons and 5 days a week during July and August, with extended hours during special events. The gallery would be staffed by trained MAC volunteers and part-time seasonal staff with oversight from our executive team and board. We have also begun conversations with Gail Dempsey of Muskoka Chautauqua on how we can collaborate during their August programming, ensuring the space continues to support existing cultural activity in Windermere. Overall, the goal is to activate the hall in a way that is respectful of the building, welcoming to visitors, and sustainable to operate. And while I'm talking about sustainability, with that in mind, our ask today of the township is that this proposal be considered as a pilot project for the 2026 season, and that rental fees be waived in consideration of the planning and labor required to make this a successful venture. So next slide, please. So why a gallery in Windermere? For MAC and for our artists, the gallery would provide expanded exhibition and retail opportunities in a key location during the busy summer season. For the community, the gallery would help animate the Windermere Village Hall and the surrounding park and new playground, enhancing people's use of that space through access to cultural enrichment, as well as access to the washrooms that are in that building. We also believe the gallery will help increase foot traffic for local businesses, encouraging day trips and longer visitor stays. Beyond tourism, the gallery could also support some small-scale programming, such as workshops and community art activities for local residents. And on a personal note, I recently completed my master's in arts leadership through Queen's University and spent my last semester working closely with Muskoka Chautauqua, conducting cultural mapping research in the village of Windermere, which also happens to be my home community. I'm talking to you from Windermere today. Drawing on this research, along with the results of the community conversations led by Chautauqua, as well as information that was gleaned from local and seasonal resident focus groups that I helped to lead, we feel that this proposal is in line with a community desire to see increased cultural activity in the village. Next slide, please. And while this gallery would be a new venture, Muskoka Arts and Crafts has extensive experience managing exhibitions, retail galleries, and community art programming throughout the region. Because of this experience, we feel confident that we could successfully operate a seasonal gallery that reflects the quality, professionalism, and creativity of Muskoka's arts community. We look forward to the possibility of working together to bring this project to life, and thank you for your time and consideration.
Okay, thank you. Committee, are there any questions? Knowing that we will have a more fulsome discussion later on in the agenda, and we can talk about any next steps at this point, this is the appropriate moment to ask questions of the group. So do we have any questions? Councillor Roberts.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and through you. I'm just wondering, is Muskoka Arts and Crafts a totally volunteer-based, not-for-profit organization?
I can take that one, Miranda.
Thank
So no, we have 3 paid employees right now. So we have a board of directors made up of 10 volunteer directors, and then we have 3 paid employees. Myself and Miranda are full-time, and Bryn is part-time.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions? Councillor Edwards.
Yes, through the chair. So the paintings or any of the artwork or jewelry that will be sold?
Okay.
And that, okay, so it's really running a business out of the hall then, is it?
Would this be considered running a business in your
Yes.
view?
Miranda, do you want to take this one?
Sure. Essentially, MAC takes a small commission from the sales of art, and then the rest of the proceeds go to the individual artists whose work is sold.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions? Councillor Roberts?
Sorry, I'm just,
Mhm.
I know we unfortunately lose the delegates when by the end of the day and can't go back to them. I don't know whether this question is out of line, but what percentage do you receive for the sale?
Yeah, so we try to keep, because we're not for profit, we do try to keep our fees very low. So most galleries, private galleries, are taking minimum 50% commission. Ours is 30%, which we've been able to maintain. So we would maintain that across the board with this project as well. It's really just to cover our operating costs and all the work that goes into setting up a space like this, which we anticipate being a lot. Just, from the open call to the artists, coordinating all the deliveries, pricing, labeling, inventorying, getting it to the gallery, setting up all the display that goes into setting up this new space, manning it. There's a lot to be undertaken with moving forward with something like this.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Could I
Mayor?
also add something
course.
to that?
Yeah. Mhm.
In terms of this particular project, we anticipate that it'll be really well received, but we also want to acknowledge that it's sort of untested, and that's sort of the reason for our ask of the fees being waived for this season. Because there's a lot to get it up and running, and it's sort of an unknown. It was also not part of our fiscal planning. Our year end is August 31st, so an expenditure in that way was not anticipated.
Thank you. Mayor Kelly, Councillor Kent.
Thank you, and through you, I have really 2 quick questions. You may have covered part of this, but I just want to get clarification. Are all of the artists and crafts persons members or somehow affiliated with MAC?
Yes. So all the work that we show are artist and maker members of MAC. That is,
Perfect.
yeah.
Then it probably makes the second question a moot one. You don't also deal in or propose to deal in antique art, for instance, or vintage art where the artist was unaffiliated, maybe 100 years old. Okay, I see a no. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Kent.
Hi there. Thank you. I have a very quick question. How big, I'm not familiar with the exact space apart from the picture. Can you tell me how large a space it is? Approximately?
Perhaps we could ask staff to comment.
Approximately how big is it? I can't, from the pictures, it looks really tiny. So very small. Okay.
Very small for those listening.
Okay. So it's,
It's quite a lot.
okay. That's what the feeling I had from looking at the pictures, but thank you.
Thanks. Are there any other questions? We will have a much more fulsome discussion later on, and you're welcome to watch us via Zoom, and or our clerk will follow up with you afterwards. I see there's 2 more hands up. I think. Councillor Edwards and then Councillor Burry.
If it came about, would you be willing to pay a nominal fee for rent? Just so that, like, it's basically running a business out of one of our community centers and that. And I just wondered if you had thought of that.
That would be something, as Miranda mentioned, wasn't planned in our fiscal year. Again, both manpower wise and expense wise, we would have to run that through our board. So if it was something that came back and there were fees associated, I mean, regardless, it needs to go to our board as well, because we would be investing in display materials. Also, you know, we need to think about how we're going to have somebody there kind of throughout the summer and man this gallery. So there are already costs associated that we're going to have to propose back. So if there is additional rental fees, it would have to be included in that presentation back to the board for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Burry and then Councillor Zavitz.
Thank you. And through you, probably a question for staff, and I'm just trying to get it so that everything's on the same place at the same time. What is the total foregone revenue to the township for the entire time for that rental? Mr. Moore?
Well, I'm not sure.
Small is not an answer.
It's a question that we could actually, because staff haven't had brought forward a report yet. So it could be a consideration to come back with that kind of information as well, unless Mr. Moore, you want to try to address it, but.
That's very fair, Madam Chair. I'm
Yes,
prepared to
like
let Mr. Moore.
staff is also listening today to try and figure out what our comments are, and then.
It's just really difficult to assess a business proposition without having both sides of the economic equation.
Okay, so I think, did you want to comment?
I know we'll be discussing it later in the meeting today, so I can certainly return with those numbers very quickly, I guess, to help with that aspect of it.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Councillor Zavitz.
Thank you. Through you, certainly to Councillor Burry's point, this is more of an economic development play than anything. I think it's a great idea personally, and I would challenge Corey when we get back into this later on in the agenda to have those numbers, because that's really relevant to me. I mean, what is the usage over the summer of this particular facility versus, you know, using it full time in this manner? So as a pilot project, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for the delegates? Okay, seeing none, thank you both very much for your presentation today. And we will be following up with next steps after today's meeting.
Thank you
Have
so
a great
much.
day.
Thank you.
Okay, now moving along to Mr. Moore, 7A.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, committee. Today's report provides an overview of our recently completed building condition assessments. They were completed this past fall, and results from those findings can be found in the appendix of the report. Generally, the main message that staff would like to deliver with this overview is that there are no immediate concerns that we need to address. Nothing structural that is requiring immediate attention. Generally, the facilities are in fair to good condition, but the consultants do note that several of the facilities themselves are older in age, and they do highlight that there will be eventually costs to maintain those facilities in the short, medium, and long term. What staff have done, we've reviewed the results that we received. And it's important to recognize within the report, we've pulled out kind of the items that we feel should be considered moving forward with our future capital plan, at which time we can bring those for consideration as part of the 2027 budget process. To certainly give us more time to review them more thoroughly as well, cost estimates, etc. that way. We should note in the appendix and the results from the consultants, many of the recommendations reflect upgrades to meet current standards of a new building, and rather than the standards that were in place when our facilities were built. So currently our buildings do meet all code, all regulations. As a result of this, you'll see some of the numbers in the appendices are fairly significant. And a lot of that is due to a lot of the items being more wants than needs. Items that we don't necessarily have to do, such as security upgrades, full fire alarm systems, accessibility, and modernization of the facilities themselves. In saying that, a nice part is a lot of the numbers and items identified are also already within our capital plan, which is great. So those items that you're seeing within the report are items that staff would consider new, that we already don't have in our plan, that we would consider moving forward. So with that, Chair, I'll turn it over for any questions.
Okay, thank you. And committee, just to note, there isn't a resolution, so questions or comments at this point are appropriate. And any hint? Mayor Kelly?
Thank you, and through you. Excellent report. Thank you very much. One quick question. You just started talking about whether the report speaks to building requirements when the thing was built or as they might have to be under current code requirements. And help me understand one thing. If we touch something, do we not have to bring it up to current standards? We can't renovate a bathroom without making sure it's accessible, for instance. Is that true? And is that part of the cost that's baked in here?
Through you, Chair. We certainly have had these discussions with the building department. As far as I understand, the renovation of the work has to be pretty significant to then reflect those current codes that need to come into place. So, yes.
Are there any other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none. Thank you very much for your report today.
Yes, thank you.
Moving on to 8A, Ms. Story.
Thank you, Chair Mazan, and good morning, committee. The township has received applications from the district municipality of Muskoka to transfer a portion of township-owned original road allowance, as well as entering into a license agreement. The district, who looks after all waste management powers of all Muskoka lower-tier municipalities, has identified a waste footprint that is located on the township's original road allowance where the former Port Carling landfill was located. In order to facilitate the requirements of the ministry and complete proper maintenance, annual inspection, and access to the site, the district has requested the township's cooperation in conveying the identified portion of the original road allowance. Additionally, the district has also requested that following the transfer of lands, the township enter into a license agreement in order to continue to permit and recognize the Hazelwood Trail and parking lot that would then be located on district lands. Staff have reviewed the district's requests and are recommending approval as they would meet the intent of the waste management approach and responsibilities in Muskoka and would further remove any associated liability from the township. And with that said, I will turn it back to the chair.
Okay, thank you. Committee, I do actually have a resolution. So at this point, I will ask for questions and then read the resolution. Are there any questions? Okay, seeing none. Moved by Councillor Burry, seconded by Councillor Edwards. Be it resolved that original road allowance application ORA-01-26 and license agreement application LA-01-26, District Municipality of Muskoka, be approved, subject to the following conditions. 1, a corresponding draft numbered reference plan of survey shall be prepared and provided to the clerk for review within 1 year of the date of this conditional approval. 2, that the township be in receipt of the following from the acting solicitor. 1, confirmation that public notice of the proposed dispositions were published pursuant to Township Policy C-LS-06. 2, confirmation from applicable agencies that they have no concerns with the proposed dispositions. 3, a road closing bylaw, a declaration of surplus resolution for the portions of original road allowance and any related necessary documentation to affect the disposition of the portions of original road allowance. And 3, that a license agreement bylaw be brought forward to a future council meeting to authorize entering into the agreement with the District of Municipality of Muskoka and authorization for the mayor and clerk to execute any related necessary documentation. 4, payment of any applicable fees, including the solicitor's time and disbursements. Any questions or comments? Councillor Nishikawa.
Thank you. I am very concerned about this because we had a situation like this happen in Bala. Why I'm concerned is because there is another group that wants to grab hold of that Hazelwood Trail. And in fact, the way that the other one happened, it ended up in the district's hands, and in fact, then into the developers' hands, which was not what the public expected or wanted. So I'm a little bit concerned about this. I still don't know what's happening with Hazelwood Trail. I think that there's a lot going on behind the scenes that I hear little tidbits of and things like that. So I'm very concerned that this might be driven by a different group at the district, or request to clean some things up. So I don't have a full picture, honestly, and I would not be voting for this in favor of this today.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other, Councillor Roberts?
Thank you. Councillor Nishikawa brings up an interesting point of something we've been dealing with for in front of us for the last 2 terms. And I don't think there's anything behind it, but it's good that we are still in control of that property or whatever. So what would be the risk? I guess this would go to staff, of us approving this as written. What could be the ultimate risk to the township? Can you, that's just off the top, I'm sorry.
Through you, Chair. I think in regards to the Hazelwood Trail, we would be entering into the license agreement with the district. So we would have that to fall back on in terms of trail usage and where it's located. I don't anticipate anything would happen with the trail as it is, from my understanding, maintained by the township. So as long as the license agreement is entered into, I don't foresee any issues there. I don't know if the director, Colucci, would want to add anything further.
Okay, Director Colucci.
Through you. So, I would agree that, the risk would be low because we will have that license agreement. And that's part of this, right? So, but, if we could just take a step back, I mean, the reason that they're asking for this transfer is because there is abandoned waste management site there. And it was found, through investigation with the MECP that some of the waste is within this road allowance. So that's why the district wants to have control of that so that they can, meet the requirements of the MECP. So it's really, just something that they need to do, for the paperwork for the MECP to ensure that the entire waste management site is controlled by them. And the license agreement will give us the ability to have the trail. And I'll speak a little bit about the golf course and, what they're doing. I did have a discussion with the consultant who is planning to delegate soon. He's just waiting for approval from the golf course. But, they are looking at other options as well as that don't include the trail option. So I think they got the message loud and clear from the last meeting where they delegated that the trail option would not be a benefit to them. So they are looking at other options wholly within their property and possibly looking at some neighboring properties. So can't speak too much to that until they actually come forward with another report.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Zavitz and then Councillor Edwards.
Excuse me, thank you, and through you, I guess, still to Nick, if I could, I look at paragraph or page 3, the top sentence there. It says the district attempted to remove the waste on the original road allowance in 2022. However, it was then determined that there was more waste on their road allowance than was identified by the delineation exercise. So does that mean there was so much waste there that they stopped because they just couldn't continue and just completely remove it? Is my first question. Second question would be, notwithstanding the road allowance, how much waste is there on our property, on the Township of Muskoka Lakes property, relating to that that trail? I mean, those are two. Just staying with the actual statement of fact for a moment. Thank you.
Okay, Director Colucci.
And through you. So again, I wasn't here in 2022 when they did that delineation. I really haven't looked at that delineation report, but from conversation with the district, this section would contain all of the possible waste and there wouldn't be anything outside of that. So, that's what the information we have from the district.
Councillor Zavitz?
Thank you, and through you, appreciate the opportunity. Then it just begs the question, why wouldn't that just be remediated? Why did the district stop? Why didn't they continue, or why wouldn't they continue? And we don't have to consider licensing agreements or anything. It stays status quo, and they simply clean up the mess. Is that too pedestrian or too rudimentary an observation? Have we discussed that with the district?
Okay. Director Colucci?
So through you, I believe back in 2022 that was discussed with the district, but my understanding is that the cost would have been higher than anticipated. So that's why they went down this route, because this way they can still meet the requirements of the MECP and we can still have our trail.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Edwards and then Councillor Kent.
Yes, are the district going to, through the chair, are the district going to clean this property up then, if they own it?
Through you, Chair, that's correct. So we would be transferring this portion of original road allowance, and they would be cleaning it up through their requirements and doing the annual inspection and maintenance and things like that.
Okay.
So
Supplemental?
could we not lease the road allowance to the district and they could clean it up instead of us leasing off of, giving it to them and leasing it off of them?
Through you, Chair, we did discuss other avenues, which included, I believe, an easement. They were not in favor of that. They prefer ownership of the lands and the associated license agreement.
What I'm really concerned about is what Councilor Nishikawa said. The district could then sell it and we could lose it, and that I've seen so many things go through that we think we're safeguarding, and the next thing we know, somebody's coming back and said, oh yeah, I know they did it back in 2007, but we want this and that. So it's, I don't know how we safeguard. I know it's only a 25-year lease and that. Maybe the mayor can say, I think you can go up to a 99-year lease. So that would be one of the things if we were going to do it. And it would have to be stipulated, it can never be sold in those 99 years.
Okay.
If I may, Chair, so the license agreement that they would be looking for us to enter into would be for a period of 25 years. And I mean, if committee is not, I would not like to proceed with this proposal, the alternative would be that the road allowance would remain in township ownership. We are aware now that there is this waste problem. If we need to address it, we would be obviously responsible for costs for remediating that lands. But the other part of it too is the parking lot for this trail is located right now on district lands. So we would still be required to enter into that license agreement for the parking lot for the trail usage. So whether we transfer the road allowance lands or not, we're still going to be looking to enter into that license agreement for the parking lot.
Okay, supplemental?
Yeah, I thought that all waste disposal dumps had to be looked after by the district. Was that not a thing? I'd have to check back through, but I think that they were supposed to remediate all the old dumps, even some of the private ones that were found. Is that not true?
Through you, Chair, it may be. I think when we were sort of negotiating this application back and forth with the district, that was my understanding, was if we don't transfer these lands and we look to address the issue there, that we would be on the hook. But I look to Director Colucci.
I think CAO Pink has his hand up, so maybe he can provide some insight.
Correct. Thank you. And through you, yes, I do recall, it's been quite some time now. I believe it's probably 10, 15 years ago, but there was an extensive exercise where all lower tier municipalities identified all the former landfills, and through discussions with the Ministry of the Environment, all those lands were transferred to the District of Muskoka to maintain, remediate, and inherit liability with those sites. So I certainly appreciate the concern around protection of the Hazelwood Trail, and there may be some risk there as we would lose ownership of a small portion. However, I think you need to balance that with the risk of maintaining a former landfill site and the potential remediation and costs associated with that. So I think staff is suggesting that those lands be transferred to the district. They have, we transferred all former landfills in the township, private and public, to the district, as I said, about 10, 15 years ago. What staff could certainly do is explore further with the district, a strengthening of the license agreement, and extending the period from 25 years to ensure that that trail continues in perpetuity. So staff's pleased to explore, and we could provide perhaps further details if the resolution is approved by the time it comes back to council for ratification.
Thank you. Councillor Kent.
Thank you. I guess, and through you to either of you, is the portion of the trail we're talking about between the golf course and the trail in there on the Port Carling side? The garbage is, the waste there is noticeable.
Mhm.
And I do think it's something that the district has to, if we did this deal, they have to be required to remediate it. I don't think this is a option of remediate it when they get around to it 20 years from now. It's dirty and it's ugly, and you step on glass and the dogs are in trouble. And, you know, I mean, I know it, unless I'm talking at the wrong spot. It's between the golf tee off and the trail going up on the right side, isn't it? It goes towards Port Carling, or does nobody know? That's okay.
I don't know the exact location, but looking at the map, it's, you know, it's between,
What'd you say?
Oh, committee?
yeah, maybe Councillor Nishikawa. I don't know if she.
I think, yeah, I think that the location is what you're talking about, just having also walked that trail quite a bit. That remediation did start, so quite a bit was removed. And I think what I'm hearing here today is that they acknowledge there's more to be done,
Mhm.
and they're trying to administratively figure out the most efficient way to make that happen. What
That's
I'm
correct.
not clear on right now is, based upon CAO Pink's comments, if we need to change this resolution in any way to make sure that, because I think what I heard is the possibility of strengthening this resolution to protect the trail. So I'm going to ask CAO Pink if there's any kind of amendments that he thinks we need.
Thank you. Through you. Looking at the resolution, I think clause 3, staff could add some further details that the license agreement, clause 3 is in respect to the license agreement, and just clarity that the goal of that agreement is to ensure continuity in perpetuity of the Hazelwood Trail. I think is what committee direction I'm
Are
sensing.
we gonna require remediation?
Excuse me, Councillor Kent?
Sorry, that I was still, question.
Did you have a question?
My
Okay.
question, are we gonna require they complete, maybe the right word is complete the remediation that they've already started?
Councillor, or CAO Pink, sorry.
Within some
I think
time
that's
frame?
certainly their intention and requirement. Whether you wish to document that in the license agreement, we can explore that if that's committee's wish. But the discussion I'm sensing is concern about the potential risk to losing the Hazelwood Trail. And I can certainly add some language to the resolution to make it clear that that's the goal of the license agreement, is to ensure that that would never be possible.
I guess I would suggest that
okay.
there's some date in there, because because otherwise with the district, it could end up being 15 years.
Okay,
You know?
yeah, thank you. I feel like somebody else had their hand up over here, and I know Mayor Kelly has his hand up. I feel like I missed somebody over here though, did I? Okay, did you have your hand up or I can't? Okay, so Mayor Kelly.
Thank you, and through you. I just want to respond to Councillor Kent's question. I'm 99% certain that the actual remediation is under the supervision and at the request of the province. And it involves not just remediation, but ongoing maintenance, management, and the assumption of any liability that comes from, I would say, failure to get the job done. So I don't think we're in a position to stipulate how and when. I believe that's being done by MECP, and they're the ones responsible to make sure it gets done at the district.
Okay, Councillor Edwards.
Thank you. Two things. First of all, I'd like to see at least a 99-year lease on that rather than a 25 if it's possible. And the second is, I'd like to know that if the district take it over because it was a dump, that they can't sell it. In other words, I think all these dump sites, that they have to take them over, then keep them and maintain them, as the mayor just said, that they have to do checks every so often. So is that the district cannot sell them in the future? I'd like to know that. Thank you.
Yeah, Yeah, thank you. Through you. I'm not sure how to answer Councillor Edwards' question. However, I do just want to say if a committee is supportive of selling the road allowance today, we will be coming back with a license agreement bylaw. However, that license agreement can't be entered into until the lands are transferred first. Staff have received a draft license agreement back from the district. Based on feedback today, we're happy to look at sort of negotiating a larger term, things like that. But I'm just sort of getting the process in your mind. If the transfer is approved today, then once that's completed, we would look to dealing with the license agreement.
Sorry, thank you. I didn't have my mic on. I think there's a slight amendment that is being proposed by CAO Pink. So I'm now going to look to our clerk to help me understand what I need to do. Do I need to? Okay. We are going to take a 10-minute break. That'll take us to 10 to 10. Thank you. Okay, committee, I now have an amendment to the main resolution, so I'm going to read that and then I'll turn the floor back over to staff. Moved by Councillor Nishikawa, seconded by Councillor Edwards. Be it resolved that the resolution be amended to include the following additional clause under section 2, number 4. The sale of the road allowance be contingent on a separate agreement satisfactory to the Director of Legislative Services clerk to ensure the continued use of the Hazelwood Trail. So at this point, before I open it up to questions and comments, I'll turn it back to staff to help guide us as to how this would work.
Thank you, Chair. So process-wise, we would have to go back to the district to see if this is something that they would be willing to consider. And then based on that, I think we would come back to committee. And am I right?
Okay. Who wants to take this? Okay. No.
Thank you. So through you, this would be a separate agreement on top of the license agreement. So we would still proceed with the license agreement, but this would be a separate agreement that would ensure it would just be a little bit stronger. So it would ensure the continued use, that they wouldn't be able to sell the property without notifying us, giving us the opportunity, that type of thing. So just to make sure that we have a separate type of agreement that we wouldn't actually be able to address in something like a license agreement. So we would still move forward with a license agreement, but this would be an additional agreement on that section of property.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Kent.
I would add just continue to use the Hazelwood chair in its current format. My worry is they come back and force us to move it around some dumps. Like, you know, maybe we don't care about that, but I'm concerned about that. Leaves it open for them to come back and change the format and style or direction of the trail. So it'd just be a slight.
I'm not seeing anybody else at this point making comment. Councillor McIntyre.
My concern is if we sign the licensing agreement and the district says, no, we're not going to sign any more agreements, where are we?
Okay, thank you.
Through you, Chair. So if we do not proceed with transferring the road allowance lands, and we are still going to be required to enter into a license agreement for the parking lot. So the road allowance and the trail would remain as is, but we are still going to be entering into a license agreement for the parking lot. The parking lot is located on district property right now, and it's for parking for usage of the trail. So there's going to be a license agreement, unfortunately, still, but it's to do with the parking lot.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Director Esperas.
Just to add to that, if we go to the district and they don't want to do a separate agreement, then we can't move forward with the license agreement the way that the resolution is written. So the lands would remain in our name, and therefore we would be on the hook for the remediation. So there is well. So that, yeah. So well, the lands would stay in our name, and therefore we would have to pay for the remediation. So there is a risk to that, but in either scenario, we'd be coming back to this table.
So I've read the resolution. I don't see any other hands at this point. I will now call the question on the amendment. All those in favor? Okay, all those opposed? Thank you. That does carry. And now I will call the question on the main motion as amended. All those in favor? Okay, all those opposed? Okay, that carries. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Chair Mazan. Staff, together with the township solicitor, have created an updated policy to facilitate the closure and conveyances of shore road and road allowances. The existing policy was first enacted in 2010 and has received minor updates over the years. A more fulsome review and update was needed as the policy has become outdated. The new policy attached to Appendix 1 sets out updated principles, procedures, and conditions regarding the sales of shore road and road allowances to abutting landowners. That is intended to ensure these conveyances continue to support council-approved projects and initiatives with an efficient administrative process for ease of use and understanding for staff and the public. Key highlights of the updated policy are detailed in my staff report. I'm happy to answer any questions, and with that said, I will turn it back to the chair.
Okay, thank you. Committee, are there any questions? Right. Okay, I will read the resolution. Moved by Councillor Zavitz, seconded by Councillor Roberts. Be it resolved that the sale of, the shore road allowances and road allowances policy C-LS08 attached as appendix 1 to report number LS-2026-06 be adopted, and that the sale of original shore road allowances and original road allowances policy CLS-08 and sale of flooded land policy C-LS-09 be repealed. Are there any comments? Councillor Edwards.
Yes, the Chair, just a clarification, there's a partial closure of a shore road can be considered if it has 1,000 feet of continuous shoreline. What percentage would they be allowed? Like they have to take a certain percentage, or just take 10 feet on either side of their property?
Through you, Chair. So how I see that clause working is if somebody would like to build a structure on a shore road allowance that is still owned by the township and they have an access of 100 or 1,000 feet of shoreline and there's only a specific area that they're looking to use, that's the area that we would consider allowing them to purchase instead of the full thing.
Okay, thank you. Okay, are there any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? All those opposed? That carries. Thank you. Okay, CAO Pink.
Morning, committee. As we all know, this year is an election year, and a very important part of that process following the election is council orientation. It is a really critical role for or function in understanding the role between staff and council. And in past years, some of the activities that we've undertaken, typically the last few terms has been departmental presentations in a half-day or full-day sessions, as well as like half-day or full-day site visits to various municipal facilities. We've also provided an information package. As we know, I think sometimes that can be an overwhelming exercise, a lot of information in a short period of time. And while staff appreciate it, that this will be a decision ultimately of the next term, we would appreciate any feedback as you've gone through that process as to what worked well, what you liked, what you didn't like, what further information you may wish to receive. Some suggestions of potential new approaches we've laid out in the report, as opposed to, again, presentations in a setting such as this, such as we could do one-on-one sessions with individual staff and individual councillors. We could do departmental visits, sort of group visits around the building. Could also do scenario-based type workshops and other ideas. So again, very interested to hear your feedback as to what you thought worked well in past orientation sessions and what you think you'd like to see in the future. Touched on again the format. The other feedback we'd be happy to receive is if there's any emerging themes or topics you'd like to review. So with that,
thank you. Committee, Councillor Roberts, Councillor Kent.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and through you. And Mr. Pink, I was there 2 years ago, and it was a long meeting. But last term, it was excellent. We had an organized way to get out there and understand our buildings. You can visit the Burgess Dam we did and stuff like that. It was just great, much superior to what we did the previous year. So when I read the report with interest, and I propose that something that could help, will help, in my opinion, is the development of an easy-to-read operations reference and navigation guide for newly elected councillors. Now you say, what is that? Basically, I just went through our webpage and started listing off the things that I had to learn on my own or ask Cheryl Hollows or someone about how to do it. But information on navigating the document center, the purpose of how to sign into iCompass. I can send you this list, CAL. Description of the key terminologies used in council, general finance and planning. What we go through, it says we have different little sections. So just a summary of what those are. We're not talking a real detailed report, but just to whet their appetite so that it can go on and ask everyone. An explanation of the meeting agendas and why we follow certain processes with, like the council, for example, we do all the heavy lifting in general finance or planning. A summary of Robert's Rules of Order. We will touch that, but basically, we've come leaps and bounds since 2018. I've been standing around here, we respect each other and following the protocol that seems to work very well. How to search the record center. Where to locate information commonly requested by the constituents, and the purpose of the secure council documents and associated restrictions. And then finally, what on my list here is the GeoHub. How to use it and what the benefit that as a counselor you can get out of GeoHub. And so those are just my short list. I don't know if my other colleagues have any, but I'll send that all to you in an email.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ken?
Thank you, and through you. I thought the materials on policy were very good, like Robert's Rules of Order. I mean, a lot of it I found difficult. I felt that would have helped me, would have been more background, summary information for planning. Bylaws, the building code, some of the key restrictions that all come up and issues that come up when we get into all the planning applications. And I felt I was always having to go back and do a ton of research to, it might be everybody gets their own copy of which is what I eventually did. And then you might point out to us the key parameters and things that people need to know to understand and be efficient about the planning meetings. I just felt there was a lot of background knowledge there that is factual, but would be helpful for a new counselor who's not familiar with that stuff to get up to speed on. And I would say the same probably on some of our key bylaws. So, if you gave each of us a binder with the key fancy bylaws and maybe did a 3-minute summary of each one, then people would know what the issues are going into the meetings. But primarily the building code and the laws and the bylaw, the building bylaws are the things that I felt really weak on. And that may have been my individual background, but I suspect there are others who have the same problem.
Certainly do that. I can assure you that even staff that work with those bylaws on a regular basis, they're complex and we're learning every day, but we would certainly take that into account.
It's the stuff that comes up in the exam. For example, how long did it take me to figure out that even though it says 10% is the maximum building coverage, you actually get to go to 11 unless you want to put like something as simple as that, but it's a very basic thing that comes up all the time that you keep having to address. And it took me a while to figure that out. I'm like, why are we going to 11 when the rules say 10? Just as one example. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? If I could just kind of add to some thoughts here. I think the facility tours we did historically were very helpful to get a sense of the community and at large, because most of us have a fairly small footprint. And I think that helps to see and I think what was very helpful and the purpose of them historically was to see the state of them, because that was information that helped us come to the natural conclusion of something today, the building condition assessments, right? It was kind of building us up to understanding that. I think as we evolve, it's trying to understand the actions or the things in behind the scenes that drive this service organization. And I'm thinking of I think it was last term, I brought my son for grade 9, Bring Your Kid to Works, and it was wonderful. It was just him at that point, but it was a very hands-on kind of experience, even going down into the planning department or the building department and just understanding this is where you get permits, this is why permits are issued. But I think even that kind of a model helps us see the day-to-day operations in a different way. So if there's ways to incorporate that, I don't think that's always necessarily up front. And so my only other comment on that, I really liked, I think your recommendation of the ongoing education sessions, like kind of building them throughout the 4 years. I think there's key stuff that's up front. And then just understanding how we all get a little bit smarter and better with all the shared idea of how to improve the overall effectiveness and efficiency of the organization or the corporation. So Mayor Kelly.
Thank you. And through you, my only comment is one of timing. I actually don't believe orientation should happen in the first 3 months or 4 months because you don't even know what you don't know at that point. So I think you need kind of a period of total quandary and panic before you really are ready to go and settle down and learn something. So to me, give it 3 full months at least before you start trying to bring people together and teach them, train them, expose them to stuff. By then, they should have some better idea what's important and what isn't.
Thank you. And if I, can I just have one other comment just while I have it? Just because is being able to separate process and policy from content. Because what I was focusing on is a little bit the operations and the content in the day-to-day, like permits, et cetera. But there's been a huge advancement in the this term of council of understanding how to effectively run this in policy and procedure. And I think that's almost two separate, in my mind anyways, pieces of education. Councillor Burry.
Thank you, and through you. And maybe just to add on to the mayor's comment about the timing. The one thing I think that orientation can happen right away is finance, municipal finance. So those of us that come from any kind of a finance background will immediately recognize that municipal finance is really, really different. And I know that Mr. Donaldson will echo that, having come from the private sector and a public accounting background, recognizing that municipal finance is done a lot differently, and the way it works, I think, is something that most of us could handle right out of the gate, and probably should, to understand that reserve funds aren't, as some of our constituents might call them, slush funds. There's a reason for them. There's a reason that the way we budget and trying to get that right out of the gate is probably the one area where you can go bang on. And then obviously facilities is something, but I would say that most new counselors are going to have a really tough time knowing what they don't know. But of the two areas, getting to see what's in the township and then understanding how municipal finance is significantly different from, you're balancing your own checkbook, or the checkbook of a company, a public or private company, how it's so different. I think that those are the pieces that if you get a good handle right away, it becomes less onerous through the budgeting process and understanding when staff come to the podium, why. Be my only comments.
Councillor Bosenworth.
Thank you. I particularly like the idea of CAO Pink of visiting the departments. Certainly visiting our facilities was perhaps the process of orientation that stuck with me the most, and certainly the longest. But I think knowing our way around the building and where different departments sit and the staff that are in there, I think would be a nice addition.
Okay. Councillor Roberts, and then Councillor Zavitz.
Thank you. I'm just going to support what His Worship was talking about. Do it in bite-sized pieces. And Councillor Berry about finances. I had cause to present to people on the weekend, and I said I went looking for information, and under budget 2020-26 budget, I found a document that I called it elevator notes, but I don't know, it was written by you, Mr. Donaldson, on a very simple little document that explained the budget. And that would be a key document to give all councillors right away. It's 3 or 4, 5 pages long, frequently asked questions. And because right out of the blocks, the new council will be looking at the budget. So there's a really good little simple talk document that sort of gets it started.
Councillor Zavitz.
Thank you, and through you. I think these are all great ideas, and certainly, David, I know you're noting these. One of the things that I would certainly champion would be more of the interpersonal side of things, where, as it relates to some of the new folks, I mean, we're rather fortunate in that we have a majority of council, back for a second term, if you will. So we know each other. Those new people don't and won't. And I think that if they won't know people and if we can do more to introduce them to staff, and I heard this comment earlier today, if they can become more acquainted and more understanding of who the staff are and what the staff does and what that department does, I think that would be very, very helpful in perhaps creating a comfort zone for these new folks. And the other thing I know I was used it in my first term, certainly, was to sort of make a friend, if you can call it a buddy system, if you will, with one counselor in each of the other 2 wards. So, I mean, we were 3-ward system. If I can get close to 2 other folks, 1 in each ward, then we can interplay and we can talk back and forth. Because certainly, Bala is a lot different than, wherever help, So I think that those are important things too, that you can interplay, exchange some information, and again, increase that comfort zone and that knowledge and better prepare them for when, for success when they come into the chambers.
Thank you. Are there any other comments? Thank you. I hope we were able to give you some good feedback.
Thank you, committee. That was excellent feedback. Thank you. Very helpful. Staff will do our best to deliver an effective orientation session later this year. Thank you.
Thank you. Chief Morrell, welcome to the podium.
Good morning, committee. Through you to committee, the first report before you is respecting the Manette Fire Station site location. Council confirmed its approval of the 7-station fire department model back in October. The implementation plan outlined the construction of a new fire station in Manette. As a part of that plan, this is scheduled for 2027. In preparation for this project, staff have developed this report to inform committee about possible locations for that fire station. As a first step, the report looks at 3 municipal-owned sites. I should cite that one of the sites is actually a district-owned site. In following that review, it suggests that staff be directed to investigate property options and engage with landowners within the resort village of Manette boundary, as these sites were deemed unsuitable. I now stand for questions.
Thank you. Committee, I do have a resolution, so we will do questions, resolution, comments. Councillor Edwards.
Do we not own some land that was donated to us in Manette? I thought there was, did it not go through? It was right just in front of Cleveland, just before Cleveland House.
Okay. Through you to the councillor, there was a previous agreement and an arrangement. I believe there was direction made to staff to go and make an agreement, but during the process of making that agreement, some of the parties expired,
okay,
for lack of a better term.
and
that then, yes, so the land agreement did not occur.
Okay.
Sorry, I did not know what appropriate word.
I got something because
Okay.
I knew there wasn't something going on.
No. Okay. Councillor Nishikawa.
Thank you. Through, I felt that it would be the direction of this municipality to look forward to the development of Manette with land being offered up in the future. So what I'm saying is there may be information that might be out there that I'm not aware of yet. Negotiations with 2 other large property owners in the area. And I'm going to just ask this, is that not the direction that we should be looking towards?
Okay.
Through you
Chief
to
Morrell?
council
And
and committee.
actually, I'm going to pose this question, like, I don't know that it's the fire chief's direction at this moment. I'm thinking
Okay.
it's a higher.
Okay, well, I think
Yeah.
Chief
Yeah,
Morrell would like to respond.
I just quickly respond to that. That's essentially what this report seeks to do. In order to answer the question, have we looked at municipal owned properties? That's the first step. The second step, as per the direction that's requested within the document, we're asking permission if we can go talk to private landowners in the resort village of Manette for the purposes, I think, that go to the same wishes that the councilor's looking for.
Okay. Maybe another question and then.
Sorry, well, it's a follow-up. I take this responsibility, whoever's going to take on this role. Generally, there's a landman, like essentially that's all they do is, and I'm a little concerned that how the presentation would go off and that we would just be door knocking and that type of thing. Been there, done that myself. I just recognize that this whole level is much more sensitive.
So let me read the resolution because I think the resolution is pretty specific. So to what this would trigger as far as next steps. Moved by Councillor Kent, second by Councillor McIntyre. Be it resolved that committee directs staff to investigate property options and engage with landowners within the resort village of Minette, boundary related to the relocation of the existing Minette Fire Station, and report back to committee with their findings. So this would be directing staff to start the process to understand. So it's not one step. I think maybe I could look to CAO Pink to say there's a process this would be triggering. I'd like to hear from CAO Pink first, please.
Yes, thank you. Through you, I think obviously I likely will be heavily involved in those and obviously seek support from technical experts like the fire chief. But that is what I think it's prudent to come to committee and show municipal properties in the area other options and seek direction should those not be preferred. Another opportunity, and staff are pleased to explore.
Councillor Nishikawa, and then if there's any other questions or comments.
My concern why I'm following through with this is because again, there's expertise in a lot of these types of discussions. When the call out was for a fire hall in Bala, we actually advertised willing to pay $150,000 for land in Bala for a new fire hall. And a person stepped up. I'll sell you this land for $150,000. We still have that land sitting there. We can't use it. This is more or less what I'm saying. There's an approach, and you know, it's
okay.
If you're a good gambler, you would understand what I'm talking about, but you don't show your cards, all of those types of things. And I just don't want to actually have to read in the paper the same type of thing again. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other questions or comments? I've read the resolution. All those in favor? All those opposed? That carries. Thank you very much, Chief Morrell.
Thank you, Chair.
You're still here. Sorry. Thank you.
Through you to committee, the second report before you requests permission to add the new draft appendix 17, which is an appendix inside of our municipal emergency plan. As committee may recall, this is an appendix that outlines how staff activate and operate relief centers. It has changed using a scalable risk-based model from enhanced public communication to sustained multi-site emergency sheltering. This is now based on real-time conditions and partner agency coordination, and this is all outlined within the draft. I now stand for questions.
Okay. Thank you very much. I do have a resolution as well. So questions first, resolution, then comments. Councillor Edwards.
Thank you. I'm just a little confused here. On page 53, strategic locations. Item 2, it says Raymond is the strategic alternative to Bala and West Region. It's point number 2 down there.
Sorry, let me close here. Targeted activation. I'm sorry, are you on the draft?
I'm in the draft. I'm on page 53, strategic location deployment. Just come around and look at it.
Oh, on 3.3.
Yeah.
Raymond is the strategic alternative for the Bala West region. Oh, yeah, this was actually highlighted multiple times, and I will correct that.
Okay.
That is not what that would say. That should say Raymond is the strategic location for the East region for the actual section.
Okay.
Based on geography. Raymond would be the alternative for the Bala West region. I'd have to reread this, but I do know this was highlighted when we were doing our drafts and our corrections. So
That's what it was
I
confusing
will
me.
definitely correct that.
And just for your information, you can change it on page 54. There's an estimate missing on sudden, unexpected, extraordinary natural events. It's when an activation is the cause of a.
Okay, when an activation is the cause of a sudden, sorry, an S.
That's right.
Thank you.
That's just that, but that's everything. Thank you.
Thank you for reading the report.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
And I might add for committee, typically, the appendices are approved through the Municipal Emergency Control Group in the program committee. But I do see some value in bringing it to this committee. And then they're rarely actually seen by this committee, but there was heightened interest in this procedure, so we wanted to bring it here.
Mental note, keep missing letters and see who's reading the reports.
Exactly.
There you go. Counselor Zavitz, do you have a question?
I do. To Chief Morrell, I too read the report and need a star for that. And I just want to have a question of the chief, which is, of course, after the 2025 ice storm a year ago now, the committee direction was certainly to firm up, strengthen, go back and have a look at our emergency response scenario. I wonder if you could speak to that in terms of what you've boiled into this new and updated report for us, just in a Coles Notes 2-second version of that. Because I mean, this is your document, and you, I think, have done an incredible job of melding and blending a lot of different services together to create a more unified approach. Can you speak to that?
Okay. Chief Morrell?
Through you to committee, simply put, we heard at the podium here, we heard that the process before was unclear. We tried to make it scalable, adaptable, malleable, in that we could use different staffing models moving forward. And it is our expectation to actually use some volunteers to staff these locations as we move forward. But we needed a way to actually address some of the other concerns that were mentioned at that time. And the councilor's quite right. We did hear a lot at the podium during that period, and a lot of that has been included within this report. And even as it relates to the public notification piece, we want to ensure that the public understands when we would activate a center. So that's clearly outlined here, and that we need to work with other partner agencies when that activation occurs. Meaning we wanted to address in there, when the OPP say you cannot be on the roadway, it would not be a great idea to then attract people to come or travel on the roadway in order to get to a community center. So all of that was addressed, simply put, in this, and then we kept massaging the language so that it could be adaptable and scalable for the future.
Thank you. And through you, just a terrific report. I would, and maybe it doesn't belong in here, but I think it does. When you refer to improved communications, I think we need to make a regular and ongoing campaign to help people understand the expectation that they will be able to look after themselves for some period of time, 72 hours or whatever the magic number is. some sense of what they should perhaps stockpile or set aside, and not be as quick to expect support as they were certainly during the ice storm. I think that would be beneficial to everybody.
If I might be able to add to
Yes.
that, you'll notice that even today and yesterday, the district of Muskoka picked up the mantle around that and really put out enhanced communication about being prepared for the ice storms as they're happening right now. And all of the lower tiers repeated that messaging in a way to try to carry the torch and push it forward, that we're all doing the same thing. So it's a very unified approach.
Mayor Kelly?
Thank you, and through you. And I did notice that, but I thought it was too little too late, quite frankly. If we start getting those warnings in December and laying stuff aside for the eventual, ice storm, rainstorm, hurricane, tornado, whatever it is, I think we would be much better served than getting it 24 hours or 48 hours before an event.
Okay. Councillor Roberts and then Councillor Nishikawa.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to the Fire Chief. Yes, there's an excellent report that you produced there, and I did circulate it to both the Raymond Hall Board chairs and the Milford Bay and a few other people. And I did get comments back that it was really, really good. But I did get a reminder of some of the things that maybe that should be included in the report. So I'm just going to relay those to you. So under the first bullet under point 4, or within that point, we talk about training of volunteers. The community felt that it would be very beneficial if the municipal staff assigned to a community center was pre-trained on an understanding of that community center, of that specific, how to, they are the face of the township, and the people expect them to know how the internet works and all the technology works in there, especially the internet. And they should have a quick access that would be produced for each relief center from the people that are there every day, saying, this is how you get into if you have to, into certain rooms, or here's where the keys are. So they found last time that the staff were good, but they were quite unfamiliar with what the community center brought to the situation, as well as maybe, and I'm just thinking off the top of the hill, what the township is really going to do here. It's not going to provide full meals, or type of thing. So they thought that 2 years ago at Christmas time, when the township was shut down and that this event happened. And I know, Fire Chief, you were running around helping people out, but they found the answering service was very uninformed. So when you have an event that is deemed that maybe it should be, someone contact the answering service and say, hey, we're now in this situation. Here's how you handle these calls, because it's unique. What else is there? One of the roles is that people recognize, Fire Chief, that the role you played, you're running, you're really serving the community, but they're thinking you're so busy. Are you the quarterback, they were asking, of those situations, or does the township have one person that is assigned to the event, because they know the whole committee, that would be the quarterback and sort of channel in rather than taking your valuable time? That was one of the questions. But anyways, those are suggestions and a question.
Okay, Chief Moreau.
Through the chair to committee, yeah, in a smaller community, it's very challenging as these events increase in frequency. So yes, a lot of little communities assign their fire chief as the CMC. In this community, we've actually assigned the primary responsibilities to the fire prevention officer. As a part of their wage scale, half of their role is to do this role.
Okay.
Where that job becomes limiting is that role doesn't work overtime. And oftentimes, like you were saying, in those holiday experiences, that's why it rolls back in my lap. So it wouldn't always be the case that I'm 100% responsible. I'm the secondary CMC. The primary CMC is supposed to be the FPO.
Okay.
I don't know if that helps answer the question. It just, majority of the time, it's going to be that other party, but obviously sometimes they're junior to the role, so they're just learning how to be an emergency manager. So it's kind of a dual role.
Yeah. I'm just.
Sorry, I think just to add, I think one of the things that, in my observation has been that there is a whole emergency group that meets consistently probably in this room during an emergency. And you're talking about what the leader is, but there's a whole system that happens, whatever the emergency is that comes. So it's not just a matter, I just want to make sure that anybody watching doesn't think it's Chief Morale and the fire department on their own. It's actually the entire group.
I fully understand that, and I'm glad you clarified that for those who are listening. I'm just thinking that if, just to consideration, if there was on an event, you had the one point of contact for all, or for everyone, that would manage it and be the focal point of questions from the public into the management group. That's all I'm suggesting, or was suggested.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other, Councilor Nishikawa?
Thank you. I will not be voting for this today. The 72 hours and the public notification have really concerned me. 72 hours does not identify or assist those vulnerable people that live in our municipality that cannot keep their house warm for 24 hours without heat, never mind 72 hours, as well as when there is no social media available, there's no internet period available. Rogers has shut down, for example. Again, how are we talking to people? Essentially, they know historically to go to the community center that they could seek assistance, but 72 hours does not identify the fact that literally these homes are not up to the standards of a subdivision in Toronto or a subdivision even in Bracebridge, quite frankly. And and I don't believe that most people can afford a generator, for instance. These are not well-off properties, but they are important homesteaded families that contribute a lot to the community, but they do require more than 72 hours. Like they need assistance sooner than that. And that's why I'm not voting today.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, I'm seeing none. I'll call the question. All those in favor? All those opposed? Okay. That carries. I think CAO Pink would like to make a comment.
Sorry not to put Chief Morrell on the spot, but just to respond to that last comment, perhaps the chief could explore what the vulnerable population, what the supports and assists they have available to them during these events if a community center were not to open immediately.
Yeah, so thank you for, I didn't want to let that just hang out there. So the first step that I would encourage anybody to do is call 911 if they're absolutely in dire need. The second step is look at the non-emergency phone numbers that we posted on our website to get a hold of us individually. And that's how we take the information back to the Emergency Control Program Committee in order for the control group to make the decision to open a relief center. While I empathize and understand with what the councillor is saying, we have to react to feedback that we get from the public in order to open up these relief centers. And that was lacking in actually a lot of the past two events, but we did eventually open up those relief centers to see what the throughfare looked like. And I think the other thing that is available to the general public is victim services, and we can help reroute staff and resources and people to those individuals that are in dire need through the victim services model. District of Muskoka also has a great model if people need food. And if we know that people are in need in an area, the earlier that we know that, then it does become a consideration of why we would open up that relief center.
Thank you. And just sorry for, I called the question a little bit early. I apologize. I didn't see your hand up, CAO Pink. Just, it does beg the question on communication in the sense, is there an opportunity, everything you just said, and maybe even some more, that each of these community centers should have this in just visible and available for people to read at any point in time, not just waiting for the event to happen.
Yeah,
And I think that's one of the things that our communication officer could potentially support.
we've, through you, I think that's actually already been addressed, I believe. I don't know if
Okay.
Corey's still here, but I know there's a large placard that's been made for most of our community centers that indicates if you're having an emergency, here's the number to call. But I do take away some of the points that were made that sometimes our answering service doesn't have all the information, so we'll make sure that that's happening. And that is a way to communicate with us that you want that activation of that relief center.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, Councillor Nishikawa.
During the last ice storm, I personally experienced more than 48 hours without having internet access or cell phone access. That's my point, is that in fact, people use the community center to go and make a phone call. And in fact, if we're sort of saying, well, like everything I heard was just call us.
I am
If you
listening to
can't
you.
call us,
As your
what are we
chair, I've
doing?
gotten myself into trouble though, because I've already closed the matter off by calling that question. So it's not that I'm not listening to you. I'm just getting told process wise that the matter has been, we've already voted. So I've just learned a good lesson on chairing this month. How do I handle that one?
You'd have to have a motion to reconsider.
I'd have to have a motion to reconsider if we'd like to have this matter brought back to the floor. Okay, I'm not seeing that, so thank you for helping me through that. I appreciate it. Moving on now to item 12A. Ms. Fraser, welcome to the podium.
Morning, Chair and Committee. HR is providing an update regarding a rebate received by the township from the Workplace Safety and Insurance Board through our participation in the Health and Safety Excellence Program. This is the third time the township has participated in the program. The program is designed to make workplaces safer while allowing organizations to earn rebates on WSIB premiums. As part of the program, the township selects health and safety topics, then we form an action plan with the goal of reducing the risk of workplace injuries and illnesses. Through this program, we selected 5 topics, which is the maximum, each eligible for $8,000 for a total of $40,000. Participation in this program supports the township's ongoing commitment to maintaining a safe and healthy workplace for all staff. I am available to answer any questions.
Thank you. Committee, are there any questions or comments? There's no report. That's just for our information. Councillor Zavitz.
I just say well done, very well done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Zavitz. Anything else? No, thank you very much, Ms. Fraser. Thank you for that update. Committee, we heard a delegation earlier today regarding the possibility of the Windermere Village Hall proposal. And I think coming out of that, there were some great questions. I also see 2 of our staff members here kind of prepared to listen, I guess, and understand, maybe help us facilitate some next steps. I think that, like, following our normal process, it would be if there's interest in hearing and learning more, it would be to direct staff to come back with specific information to allow us to have a more fulsome discussion. So I put that out to the group now. That would be a way for us to manage the request. We could simply ask staff to be working with the group to task with what the request is, come back to us with a report based upon what some of the questions we heard earlier, or any further comments that we may have now. And that then they would come back either to committee or council, depending on what the timing would look like, with a fulsome report that we could then talk about the possibility of that option. So I just wanted to throw that out to the group now to help us facilitate the conversation, that process-wise we can follow it that way. And at this point, what I'll do is open it up to comments from the group. Councillor Zavitz, and then Councillor Roberts.
Thank you, and through you. I certainly would be interested in having one of our fine folks come forward and actually answer a few of the questions that we had posed earlier with the delegates here in terms of what is the general usage of the building, frequency, what are the, what are we considering giving up, if you will, in terms of costs. And I think that would be very helpful in shaping and framing, certainly my thoughts on that. Thank you.
So I see Mr. Moore come up. I do think that's part of some of the information that could come back in a future staff report as well, but certainly I'll invite Mr. Moore to the stadium. You look like you, podium. Very-
Yes, thank you, Chair. I was able to gather some of that information. So the building itself, 300 square feet in size, so small but quaint and cute. In terms of revenue earned, last year we had $0 in revenue from the building. We did have one group, Muskoka Chautauqua, that did utilize it for their festival event in August. 2024 revenue was $135. So I think we had, so certainly underutilized building. In terms of the kind of the costs for the group to maybe operate, currently a full day rental to facility is $40. If we estimate that they'd be using it for 20 weeks total, that works out to about $5,600 for that time. If we were to base it more on your standard kind of commercial property lease, generally the rates right now I think are anywhere from $15 to $20 per square foot. Given the size, location, etc., if we went to the lower end of that, maybe the $15 per square foot rate, it works out to about $1,875 for the 20 weeks. So about $375 a month. So those are some of the background numbers to help support.
Okay, thank you. That was more than I was expecting, so thank you very much. Councillor Roberts, and then Councillor Nishikawa.
Thank you. Thank you. That was very informative, and there may be more information that I need, but that did form some of my thoughts. I was just thinking along the line, I'm very supportive of that building being used. I'm supportive of the economic development it could drive for the whole community. I'm just a little concerned on a precedent setting because there is monies being earned to support this not-for-profit, which is a very good not-for-profit. And so I'm just rambling on here, but I feel comfortable with it, but I'm just worried about that whole thing of the precedent setting.
So possibly in a staff report that this will give us some time to consider if staff has a chance to come back with some options for us to look at. Just it is a different use than we typically see, just given the length and duration of it. I see hands up, but it was Councillor Nishikawa. I see Councillor Zavich, you had your hands up still. Did you have another question? Yes? Okay. Mayor Kelly and then Councillor Kent. So Councillor Nishikawa.
Thank you. Through you, I'm really in favor of this group using it. We've had past history of using our facilities, allowing other groups to use our facilities. Groups like this, there's no money to be made here. Nobody's earning a living here. And so I don't look at it that same way. But how I look at our municipality, and I'm probably just by myself, but I've actually thought of Windermere for many years because of other activities that we've seen happen as sort of the artsy place in our municipality. Bala's entertainment. Like I just designate certain areas that are used for more like historic uses. But we've rented out facilities in Torrance. We allowed people to make jam. We've let all kinds of activities, and at very, very nominal costs. I don't feel, for me, I don't even think that there should be a charge. I think that it's a very, very added benefit to the community if Mr. Edwards had something more to add, that there was another use going on that I am not aware of. But I don't feel that we should charge him. I think this is a really benefit for the overall community.
Okay.
And
thank you. Mayor Kelly, Councillor Kent, and then back to you, Councillor Zavitz.
Thank you. And through you, I sort of echo, I think, what Councillor Roberts said, but I don't have the same concern about the precedent side of it. I think, we have a building that clearly is not used, generating zero rent at 300 square feet and no washroom facility, as I understand it. Oh, there is a washroom. Okay. At 300 square feet, it's going to be hard to find anybody paying a meaningful amount. You got a not-for-profit proposed tenant that promotes the arts and crafts locally. I asked to make sure that these are all local artists, members of the society or the guild or whatever they're called. That essentially generates a minimal, I would guess, slice of the pie, a bit of a commission to support their activities, gives the local artists exposure and the opportunity to sell some stuff. It is a first time try period. I do think we need to get a lease, simply to have the protections that we normally would need for, damage and so forth. But I would suggest that compensation be set at something like $1 for the term that they're looking for. I also think, frankly, they're going to run out of runway if we don't get this done in a month. So I would suggest that anything we need to do get handled next month at council to give them an extra month to get advertising and line up their vendors and so forth.
Thank you. Councillor Ken?
I would just reiterate, I think this is an underutilized facility. I think it's a great use of space. We're not foregoing any income of any magnitude, and last year none. And I think we should proceed with getting a lease done, let them go. And I would also ask Mr. Cox to suggest that maybe we could, given that you have this new playground, and then you've got this building that might be useful, maybe we want to lease a coffee stand or something. Like there's things that you could add on to that would make it drag people into that area, particularly with parents coming with kids to the playground. I just thought it might be as a supplement, we don't need any reports coming back. Just he could think about what we might be able to license to somebody who wants to run a booth or something outside to facilitate traffic.
Okay, thank
Anyway,
you.
go ahead is my opinion.
Okay, Councillor Zavitz?
Well, here. I too voiced that same opinion. I think what the mayor said was excellent. I see no reason for a staff report coming back. I think here it is March and we're looking to get this thing established for the summer. Let's go. I'm certainly willing to put forward a motion if someone would second it to in fact proceed with this based on the criteria that again, some of the councillors and the mayor have indicated. So if there was a seconder, to your point, Chair, I'd certainly be willing to move that motion.
Okay, thank you. So just for Mike, it sounds like I see Councillor Edwards has his hand up. So just give me a second though. I just want to be clear on the motion that you would be recommending here, Councillor Zavitz.
Well, thank you, and through you, that we would proceed based on the criteria. For example, yes, we would need a lease. So we would suggest a lease. It could be $1 for the duration of their use, laying out, what our expectations are, certainly what, I guess, sensitive to what their needs might be as well. But that we would proceed here and now with this. The notion.
So directing staff to come back with a lease agreement to council, I think to Mayor Kelly's comment, next month.
Perfect. Absolutely.
And then that would give us one more month to talk about any additions to or changes to that actual agreement if we had to at that time.
I'd be certainly amenable to that. And if there was a seconder, that would be great.
Okay. So Councillor Edwards?
I was just going to say I would second it.
Okay.
I think there should be rent paid, and as the mayor suggested, $1, that sounds reasonable. So I would go with a rent of $1 for the season and then take it from there. Thank you.
Okay, we do have a motion now on getting drafted to put onto the table, and then I'm going to turn to, after that, I have that, I think procedurally now I have to read this motion. Is that correct? Because Councillor Burry has a question. You can ask the question.
Thank you, and through you. So I did hear that there was one other use last summer with the Chautauqua. And I'm just concerned if we go with the one, which is a better use of the space, I agree. Are we putting Chautauqua out, or is there an alternate space that they'll be able to use? And I don't even know who to ask that question.
Well, I think it was discussed in the presentation earlier. I will turn to staff. I see Ms. Dempsey. They have been in contact with Chautauqua to ensure there's some kind of collaboration. But Ms. Dempsey, would you like to make any comment? Do you see it as this is a partnership with Chautauqua in that area. Yes, please.
Do I need to give my name and address? No.
No.
Okay. Yes. Is it on? Okay. Yes, thank you. I'm happy to provide a comment on behalf of Muskoka Chautauqua. I am a member of Muskoka Arts and Crafts, and we are, a collaborating not-for-profit with them. So we're really excited about the opportunity. Muskoka Chautauqua, the festival this year will be from August 7th to 16th. So we've had discussions with Muskoka Arts and Crafts about how we could share that space during that time. We're delighted that they're, taking this initiative. I think it's really consistent with the recommendations from the cultural assets mapping, which is, one of the recommendations is to animate the village. There are really so few regular traditional businesses in the village that and there are these underutilized spaces that lend themselves to these sorts of things. So we're delighted with that happening. Can I ask a question about the facility summary report with regard to that community center and the other one?
No,
Because
we can't, because this is the matter that's before us right now, but I'm happy to, I'm sure that somebody from staff could help answer your questions after the.
Okay, because they were absent in those two buildings were absent, and I was looking for what kind of condition they were in. But yeah, so
thank you.
If there's anything else that you want to, the Arts Cafe, I love that idea of having coffee in the building and having the building washrooms open for the new playground. And so we're having discussions with Muskoka Arts and Crafts about can we do some kind of little coffee arts cafe. Muskoka Chautauqua puts a little tent up beside for authors signing books, etc. during our festival. So we're prepared to work really closely and support Muskoka Arts and Crafts in this initiative.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing up the washroom. That was something that I hadn't thought about, but that's an added benefit, especially with the new park there. We may see some increased activity. So I think that's an added benefit to be watched, I guess, during this pilot project. So I think I have a draft resolution I can read based upon Councillor Zavitz and Councillor Edwards' comments. So I'll read this and then open to further questions and comments. Moved by Councillor Zavitz, seconded by Councillor Edwards. Whereas committee received a presentation from Miranda Britton and Nicole Kitchen regarding a proposal for a seasonal art gallery at Windermere Village Hall. Now therefore be it resolved that staff be directed to work with Muskoka Arts and Crafts to investigate the proposal and report back to the April council meeting with a proposed nominal value lease for council's consideration. Are there any further questions, comments? Councillor Edwards?
I think it's a great idea, and especially with the washrooms. Maybe what they could do is, in lieu of rent, is make sure the washrooms are kept clean. If people, so we don't have to send staff in every day to clean them. And that, I think it's a fair trade-off. But I would support this.
Okay, thank you. I see Mr. Moore is taking note of our comments, so that's helpful. Any other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor? That carries. Thank you. Thank you very much. That's exciting for the village of Windermere. Outcome of a lot of discussions over the years, I know led by Chautauqua and other stakeholder groups within that community and the community conversation. So it's fun to see something like this pulled together. So thanks for your time and to the Muskoka Arts and Culture Group. Okay, moving on to the district municipality of Muskoka. Are there any questions or comments? Councillor Nishikawa.
Thank you. I wanted to point out under the district council meeting, number one there, the Mr. Roberts and I had a conversation last week about what was going on in the district, and the chair had produced under the chair's report, a 6-page document, which really gives a full overview of stuff I've even forgotten, but it's well worth reading, in my opinion. And I actually have printed copies as well, if people want it. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Are there any other questions or comments on the district? Okay, seeing none, moving on to community events. Councillor Roberts.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So Milford Bay,
Mhm.
this weekend, March the 14th, 4:30 to 7. The Windermere Lions Group are now putting on a great turkey dinner. And so all are welcome. And there was a good turnout last year and got great food. And so, but they asked if you could, if you have, to bring used eyeglasses, not in the cases. If you have any ones that you want to dispose of, and they'll make good use of that. Just in the Milford Bay community, for all in the room, there's no age limit. There's the annual Easter egg hunt.
Mhm.
And that's April the 4th, and it starts at 10 a.m. And I see the mayor smiling because he loves candy. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any, Councillor Nishikawa?
In Torrance, we'll be having, I think it's the 22nd, Seder dinner, which is put on in the community. It'll be on the first this year for some, I don't know that that's correct, but the Thursday of Easter. And it's a great event if you get to, but get your tickets now because they go out fast.
Thank you. Any other community events? Not seeing any. I have one more resolution. What's that? Okay. Moved by Councillor Edwards, seconded by Councillor Kent. Be it resolved that this meeting adjourn at 11 a.m. And the next regular meeting of the General Finance Committee will be held on Wednesday, April 15th, 2026 at 9 a.m. or at the call of the chair electronically from the Council Chambers Municipal Office in Port Carling, Ontario. All those in favor? That carries. Thank you. And Mayor Kelly, 1 p.m. start? Okay.